Shall I start? Okay. Welcome to Living Catholic, the weekly webcast from the Diocese of Birmingham, in which we engage with Catholic leaders to explore how we can live out our life in Christ faithfully and with joy. I'm Dr. David Anders, Director of the Office of Education and Lifelong Formation. Today I'm speaking with Sister Gabby Ramirez. Sister Gabby is the director of La Casita, a Catholic social service agency whose mission is to meet the social and sacramental needs of God's people in the Diocese of Birmingham. Sister belongs to the community of Guadalupana sisters. Inspired by the missionary Guadalupanas of the Holy Spirit have a charism of peace, accompaniment, solidarity, and compassion towards the poorer people, especially the indigenous, migrants, and the marginalized. In Birmingham, this translates into a special care for the Hispanic community. However, they also seek to be a multicultural ministry, something we hope to talk about today, a safe and welcoming environment for people of diverse culture to meet, obtain information, and receive available services. Sister Gabby's also recently been named the Director of Emergency Services for the Diocese of Birmingham. Sister Gabby, welcome to Living Catholic.
For your invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. So, Sister, there are so many things I want to talk to you about today. The ministry of La Casita, multicultural ministry, our bishop's call for a year of the parish and the Eucharist. But first, could you please tell us something about yourself, maybe something about your vocation to religious life and how you came to Birmingham?
Well, I'm originally from Mexico. My family lives in San Luis Potosí, Mexico. It's in the center part of Mexico. And I entered when I was 19 to my congregation, the Guadalupana sisters. And because they are missionaries, there was always a passion in my heart to be a missionary and to belong to God. And when I knew that one of our sisters were doing parish, I thought, oh my God, I want everybody to know that true happiness is in knowing how much God loves us. So I thought I can dedicate my life to let the people know how much God loves us. And when I started following the congregation, knowing their mission, and yes, I found my passion there. When I experienced the true love of God, was my true happiness, and still is my true happiness.
I can't think of a better motive for a religious vocation than the personal experience of the love of God and the desire to share that God with other people. That's amazing. So you entered the Guadalupana sisters when you were 19. Really, it was their witness in your own parish, right? They were present in your parish, that congregation. And so you had a period of formation. And then what happened next?
Well, after I finished my formation, 6 years of basic formation in Mexico, my congregation sent me to the U.S. to do a missionary work. My first mission was in Miami.
Okay.
Then in Bay Lake, Florida for 2 years. And after that, they sent me to Los Angeles. I was there for 7 years and doing ministry work, but also Vocations there. And
for your community.
For my community, yes.
Okay.
And then they sent me to Mississippi. I was there for 7 years. And after that, they sent me to Alabama. I have been here 11 years, and I am very happy here. I have been tasting the south part of the U.S., and I love it.
So you've been in Mexico, you've been in Miami, you've been in LA, you've been in Mississippi, you've been in Alabama. These are very different communities, right?
Very different.
And I read some of your vocation story online at the website of the Guadalupana sisters, and you said in your vocation story that you were working mostly with Hispanic people in Miami, but that was a very, very diverse community in Miami, even of Hispanics, right? Multicultural ministry has been part of your vocation from the very beginning.
Yes, all my ministry.
Wow. Okay, so tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the ministry of La Casita and what you're doing in Birmingham now.
Well, I was the director of La Casita for 10 years.
Okay.
And I enjoy it very much. I learned a lot, especially since I arrived to Alabama. The Hispanic population was growing a lot, and it was unattended. So we thought, well, we need to know where they live, how they live, they survive, because they work in construction, cleaning houses, in restaurants, chicken plants, and most of them, they sell food, women cleaning houses, cleaning hotels, restaurants, and taking care of children or elder people. So they find their way to find a job with dignity. And for us, we thought, well, we are trying to help them in providing social services. They're at La Casita paying their bills, the rent, their utilities bills. But also we thought it's not enough just to teach them, to give them, to teach them how to fish. So we started an immigration program, helping them to regularize their documentation, if they were able to do that, or providing legal advices to defend their rights. And also we create an education program, which is, we call it Plaza Comunitaria, where they can finish their education. Most of them came here to the US to work very young, so they didn't have the chance to finish their education in their countries of origin. So we talked with the Mexican consulate in Atlanta, working with them as a team, and with the Office of Education in Mexico. We organized this program, which is Plaza Comunitaria, and this program is in the whole US. And at their classes, they can have an official certificate that they finished their education here in the US. So in case that they go back to their countries, they already have the proper documentation to find a job over there, because they already accomplished their education here. And it's a great way to promote the human dignity. And we can see how they are increasing their self-esteem by accomplishing their education here in this country in Spanish.
You know, you said so much just then, and I'm trying to all apart and get the different elements. The first thing that you said that really grabbed my attention was that you have a desire to go find these people, right? Because, and they're maybe difficult to locate because it's a very scattered and community, and they're in the highways and the byways. You know, Pope Francis talks about going to the peripheries and looking for people that are being missed by the church's pastoral outreach. It sounds like that you are doing that. I mean, that's part of your mission. How do you go about doing that? How do you go looking for people who might otherwise be falling through the cracks?
Oh, well, Hispanic people usually communicate through Facebook, through WhatsApp. So we start announcing that we for them and interviewing them. We found where they live, and we pass the word, we spread the word. We visit them in the trials, take a survey asking them which one were their needs, their main needs, which were immigration, education, English as a second language. We are providing that too in our place.
So social media communication is a major avenue for how you're in touch with this community. Yes. And so you must have people on staff or volunteers who spend a lot of time going through social media presence and communicate. And if you find somebody, you and the sisters and volunteers, you're actually going out to their homes, their communities, their place of employment.
Yes. And also we have a lot of volunteers. They have been a blessing in our team because our staff is just 5 women. in our staff at La Casita. And now that I am serving in emergency services, we are just two in the staff, myself and my assistant. So we are working with volunteers to visit the families and to approach them. And we are creating a rapid response team with volunteers from each parish to be in touch with all the Hispanic population, because in each region, they live in different areas. So we need to locate where the trilas parks are, where the mobile homes, many of them live in mobile homes, but usually they are congregating in some areas. So we need to them. That's why we need a lot of volunteers from different regions.
Yes. Okay, so it sounds like some of the volunteers you have to be people with significant expertise, particularly when you're talking about the legal work that you're doing.
Well, yes, and the person who is in charge of that program is Lady Hillhouse. She was trained. We were accredited by the board, by the government, to have our agency. And she's in charge of that. And yeah, she has some volunteers helping her, but she's the main one who take care of the details, because paperwork, to fill it up, that paperwork is very tedious. We need to be very careful with those documentations.
Yeah, that's right. So, as I was listening to you talk, the term that came to my mind from Pope Paul VI, is the notion of integral human development, right? The idea of trying to reach the entire person, body, soul, mind, meet all of their human needs, which are integral, right, to their human identity and their Catholic identity. So, how do you reach out to these migrant people, also in their spiritual needs?
Yeah. Okay. Very good. It's what we call integral evangelization.
Right.
We are teaching them how. Because some people, they don't even know how to read, how to write. But also we are touching their hand, teaching them how to write their name. And by doing this, we are showing them the love of God.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't need to use words. We are talking about God without mentioning God's name,
yes,
just with gestures. And for me, it's the best way, right?
Yes.
To evangelize.
Sure. Sure.
Or they need to know that God loves them, and they attend to Mass, and they pray the Rosary, or I know they love to visit the Blessed Sacrament, but also they need some bread at their table. So if we provide some bread for them, it's another way to show them the God that you worship over there is now here giving you something, because you deserve that too.
So tell us a little bit about your work with emergency services.
Oh, it's another adventure. Everything has been new for me. I was dealing with emergencies, but from a distance. I was not in charge directly.
Yeah.
And now I am learning doing that, because we already have 4 tornadoes and 1 flooding. And I have been accompanying the people, not just providing them some, but just accompany them, listening to them. They experience a trauma now after the tornadoes. Now every time that it's raining, they are afraid. So they need some accompaniment too. But what I realized, sadly, is that the IMA or the Red Cross or United Way immediately attend to because they speak language, they know the system, the US system, and they immediately know to whom they need to call. It's not the same with the Hispanic people. First, because they don't speak the language. The second is because Red Cross and EMA, emergency services, they don't know, from Jefferson County, for instance, they don't know even where the Hispanic people live. So we have been the bridge between them and the Hispanic population. So I can see the need to be present, to know they are, and to be their voice. Because if we are not making them visible, nobody's gonna help them. Even Matt Carrier, who is the director of EMA, Emergency Services in the Jefferson County, he told me, if you don't speak up for the Hispanic population, nobody's gonna help them. You need to be there with them, and you need to let us know how we can help. So I guess the most vulnerable now in emergencies too are the Hispanic population. And we have people from many places, and it's not just from Mexico. A lot of people from Guatemala, from El Salvador, from Honduras, but mainly, I guess, Guatemalan, Mexican, and El Salvador. And we have been taking the bishop to visit those families who were affected, victims of the tornadoes, and they were very welcoming with the bishop. They were experiencing that they were blessed with the presence of the bishop, because they thought, oh, now we can see that we are important because someone important came.
Beautiful.
Yes, so beautiful. And they offer food. They were suffering, but they even offer food and for the bishop to welcome him.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was for me also a beautiful testimony from the bishop, because he was very humble, very close to them. He blessed them. He approached them. He ate their food. And it's a very humble presence they experienced the mercy of God among them.
So let's pivot now a little bit to the outreach of the parish. And, our bishop has called us this year to a year of the parish. And the Pope, who is clearly, your ministry is foremost in his mind, that's obvious, the care for the migrant, the marginalized, those on the periphery. But he's also called us not to neglect the ministry of the parish needs. So in your view, how are we doing in the Diocese of Birmingham as a community of parishes to express this ministry, and what could we do as parishes to do a better job?
Okay. We are receiving some donations, food donations from parishes, from Prince of Peace. We receive food for our to share those with others. Those are main things that can do. At a parish level, we can get volunteers from parishes. We can have food, or especially right now, I was thinking for emergency services, we can receive, probably at parish level, they can organize to provide emergency kits for the victims of the tornadoes, with soap, little things that we can provide for a tornado who is, some of them, they lost everything. They don't have even a toothbrush. So if we have emergency kits, if a parish can donate that for us, that will be a great blessing for us, because it is very hard in case of emergency, start getting things together to donate to the people. If we have a kit, just prepare for the victims, it will be a blessing. Those little a parish can organize will be great for us.
The Holy See published a document this year on renewing parish life, renewal of the parish. And the issue of changing demographics, migration, different cultures and civilizations coming into conversation is a big part of the focus of that document. It's changed the way is conceived and pastoral ministry is exercised. And thinking about our interview today, I went back to that text and I found this sentence and it jumped out to me. Ecclesial membership, parish membership in our present age is less a question of birthplace, much less about where someone grew up, as it is about being part of a community by adoption, with everyone working for the common good. And that strikes me as highly relevant to what we're talking about, and the parishes to consciously adopt those whose country of origin or language of origin may be different, and consciously integrate them into a diocese and a parish life by adoption, right? Which makes me ask, so, there are obvious barriers to making that effective, okay? But everyone seeks to gain by that mutual. So, and I know that you have a lot of thoughts about what multicultural ministry should look like, about what a multicultural parish ought to look like, about how that can be an expression of mutual enrichment. I wonder if you could share some thoughts about that.
Yes, thank you. I guess everybody experiences fears of the differences. I am afraid when I start speaking in English that the other person is not going to understand me because I have my own accent. And I guess the other person is afraid that I cannot understand them in your own language. So if we are aware of that fear and put aside our fear and start talking, like right now we are doing that, it's just the best way to start approaching and to put aside our just in language. And I can experience also, and all of us, Hispanic people are very sensitive. We can feel when somebody welcomes us, even though that they don't speak our language. Because so you can speak the language of the heart, and you can smile, you can welcome. And sometimes at the parish level, since we have usually we have the English Mass, and then immediately after that, the Spanish Mass is coming. So I notice when the Anglo community is leaving the church and the Hispanic people is arriving, we don't need to talk, but just a smile, and just to wave, just to say welcome. That's it, because we come to the same family. This is our parish. We don't have the Mass together. We don't worship together, but we are all children of God. It doesn't matter if we don't speak the same language, and it doesn't matter if we have different.
You reminded me of a story. When years ago I lived in Iowa, and my wife and I attended a church that was predominantly Korean. And the pastor was Korean, and most of the congregation was Korean. Why we were there is a long story I won't get into, right? Mm-hmm. And the services were in Korean, and we don't speak Korean. We did have some translation. And we were there a little bit more than a year, and we had a lot of friends, some of whom spoke English and some of whom did not. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was one young woman, my wife, and they had small children the same age, and they did not have one word in common. They could not say anything to one another, and yet they became dear friends. Yeah. And we would meet in the church, and they would literally rush to one another with open arms. They would hug each other's babies. They would exchange food, and they would just sort of look at one another with care and concern. And each of them had a strong desire to communicate, and it was a barrier. They couldn't. And I think, she went back to Korea, I believe. One of these days, we're going to all meet in heaven, I hope, and they're going to rush into each other's arms and say, now we can talk.
For sure. Yes. Yes. And that is the language of the heart. And
That's right.
everybody can speak that language.
That's right.
We want to do it. So let me tell you, sometimes some people are asking me, why some Hispanic people Catholic Church? They are attending, they go to other denomination church. And I told them, because they don't feel welcome within the Catholic Church. Or because we are not providing the social services that they need. And other denominations are doing that. So we need to be careful also if we want to keep them as Catholic, because most of the Hispanic people is Catholic.
Yes.
When they arrive here in the US is when they change. But it's because of that, because if we are not welcoming them, if we are not providing the social services that they need, and the others denominations are doing that, they're gonna go there.
And well, this is a problem not just for Hispanic Catholics, but for Anglo Catholics as well.
Yes.
We have English-speaking because they don't feel welcome.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult problem. It's a deep problem. It's one we have to address.
Yeah.
So the Holy See has said that as we think about renewing parish ministry, we should keep in mind that we can enhance our mutual communion with one another by synthesizing, bringing together the different charism and vocations that exist in different cultural communities. And that's a deeper level of engagement than the kind of friendliness that we're talking about. This is an openness and appreciation that other communities, other cultures have charisms and vocations that we ourselves may lack. And that pastoral ministry in the parish should be sensitive to that. And everybody in the Catholic Church is to cultivate a personal vocation and put it at the service of the universal church. So, in their local community, in their local parish, so about what you think, what are those charisms that the Hispanic community can bring to the parish in the United States that could enrich the United States and vice versa?
Yes, thank you. I guess the future of the Catholic Church in the US is going to be Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic population is growing. And, Hispanic families are large families.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. And for me, the Hispanic population is given to the church is their faith, their family values, their the sense of belonging among themselves and to the parish. When they experience that they belong to the parish, they start selling food, they start building. Probably they don't have enough money to register and to give a donation every Sunday, but they work hard. They are very hard workers. So they can sell food, they can do the yard at the parish level, they can help in the activities of the parish. And also they have strong roots and strong traditions that they can share those gifts with the community, our roots, our food, our tradition, the way that we enjoy life. We enjoy relationships. Time is relative for us. That's why sometimes we arrive late for some meetings, because we take care of relationships. So if we are attending a relationship, it's rude for us just to let someone. It's rude to cut with someone the conversation because I need to run to the other one. So it's a way to, we need to learn that from you, to more organize, more time. But in another way, we are more spontaneous and more joyful in that sense that we enjoy relationships. We cannot say that time is money. For us, time is relationship.
Beautiful.
And communion for us, the way that we understand communion is not that we need to do everything together at each level. We don't need to be worshiping God together is that no, it doesn't mean to be together and to do things at the same time, but to have a common purpose, a common intention, which is to love God and to seek the common good. And probably we cannot worship every Sunday together, but probably for Pentecost or for Christmas, we can have something bilingual. We can share our meals. We can talk about our fears or for differences, and we can have a conversation about that. Which are your gifts in your culture, in the tradition? Show me something. Share with me something, some dances or a tradition that is a value in your country. In your country, for instance, family values are very important for us. Share something about that. And also,
So, have you seen some gatherings like the Diocese of Birmingham since you've been here?
not yet. I wish we can have that. I saw that in Los Angeles, which is a multicultural place. And yet we were creating, we call it building multicultural communities, inclusive communities. Multicultural.
And was that organized at the parish level or at the diocesan level?
It was at a diocesan level, building inclusive communities. And there is a lot of material about that. And yeah, it could be applied in a parish level too, where we got together people from different cultures and we can start sharing our fears, but also our gifts, our talents. And yeah, we start organizing activities together. And for me, the best way to start building those inclusive communities is through social services, because to provide and I realized that in emergency cases, we don't need to speak the language. We just need to donate, to help without words. We just organize an activity together. It doesn't matter your culture, your religion, your gender, your status.
Sure.
Doing something together to help others is the best way. The best way for me to start building inclusive communities.
So, have you got some concrete suggestions for people who might be listening to this podcast, how as individuals or parishes, they could begin to take those action steps in their life right now?
Well, at the parish level, I guess we need someone to start inviting to people. It doesn't need to be a big group, but people from different cultures, just to have a conversation, to share the gifts of our culture, and to share our fears, and to organize an activity. How can we be more inclusive between us, and how can we do something to let the people know that here we are, that we are sharing different gifts, that we need to acknowledge and to appreciate our differences and to enrich. How can we enrich from each other? So I guess at the parish level, especially where you have bilingual activities, it would be great. At the beginning, when I started serving at La Casita, I start social services group community at the parish level, one in Prince of Peace and one in the Sacred Heart in Kuhlman. And in the team, I had people from the Hispanic community and people for the Anglo community. And we sit together and we start talking about the needs that we found for among us. And the Hispanic people share their experiences. We organize we had an analysis of the reality to see the needs, but also how the Anglo community saw the Hispanic people there as part of the parish, and how the Hispanic people feel welcome from the Anglo community, and how can they, how can we build a bridge between them in order to start doing something? And through social services, we were able to work together. And then the Hispanic people were telling them, well, we need to learn more English. So among the Anglo community, they organize themselves and they provide English classes as a second language at the parish level. So the volunteers start teaching English to the Hispanic people to be able to communicate between themselves. So, and they took the initiative, but just by talking. And then we organized a food festival, sharing, selling. It was a fundraising, but the main purpose was to share the different kind of food among the Hispanic people, because they are from different regions. So it was a way also to get together and to share our food tradition and music. We provide music. It was a party. It was beautiful. And also in Kuhlman, it was very interesting. Even we were in separate tables because the Hispanic people start talking in Spanish. The conversation was in Spanish, and the Anglo community in English in the other tables. And we can see the difference. The Hispanic people start very noisy, and I asked them to draw something, the map of the reality and things, and they were very funny and things like that, spontaneous. But the Anglo community, they were very serious, very focused, very well organized, great ideas. And when we put them together, we saw, wow, how can we, when we put things together, we can enrich each other and we can spread our mind, our vision, and we can learn from each other. And we saw the differences. And yeah, it's part of the acceptance that we are different, but we can work together and we can, like each other, and we can have a common purpose.
That's beautiful.
We are one family.
So, Sister, one last question is a little bit change of topic, but I know that the ministry of Guadalupana Sisters in your own parish, of course, was very important to your vocation. You served as vocation director for your community in Los Angeles. How do you feel about the status of vocations to your community now worldwide, and do you continue to see vocations, new vocations to the Guadalupana Sisters?
No, as before. It's very sad, but since there are many options, and I believe it's a crisis in the whole church. Now women have a lot of options, and I guess laity is doing a great job. I guess, I believe that it's the signs of the time too. It's the time of lay people to go for it, and now we are receiving their support. Before we were leading people, but now they are leading. We are following them, and we need to work together. Yes, but and it's okay with me. I understand that those are the signs of the time.
Well, you spoke about the options that there are so many more options that people have in life today, and so I know we in Diocese of Birmingham are thankful that you took the option. That you took the option for religious life, and that you took the preferential option for the poor, that the church says is such an important part of our vocation. So, as Catholics. So, Sister Gabby, I just really want to thank you for being with us today. Your ministry is beautiful. Your joy and your smile and your obvious love for what you're doing, the people that you're serving, is beautiful. And we are blessed to have you. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you for being with us today. So please join us next time for Living Catholic. In the next episode, I'll be speaking with Maria Jose Bonilla, Director of Hispanic Ministries, about the work of this office in the year of the parish and the Eucharist, and how we can share ideas for cross-cultural celebrations like the ones we were talking about today. If you enjoy our show, please subscribe to us on YouTube or using your favorite podcast app. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating or a review. And finally, please recommend us to friends and family. We'd love to continue speaking with you in this special year focused on encountering Christ in our parish and in the Eucharist.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sister.
God bless you. Take care. Keep doing your great job.
You
Thank
too.
you. Thank you. Bye.